Hey guys, this is Cam for 15. I am back at it with another video for you guys, and I am back to record some more Batwoman Season 2 episode reviews. Um, which is funny enough, this is the second time I made a recording because I did a recording actually last night and it was supposed to go up this morning. But when I was recording, I didn't get the full recording, and I'm like, great, now I gotta redo this whole Batwoman review. But I'm gonna try to make it quicker than I did in my last video. If you typically check out my Batwoman content and you wondered why I didn't post last week's episode, I had my wisdom teeth blown, essentially taken out. Thank God that's the last time I have to say it. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of it. So no, I thought this Batwoman episode was actually pretty freaking solid. Um, and it kind of has some storylines going on where it's like, okay, they all kind of interconnect into each other in some cases. Now, the episode kind of starts off with a kid, like a little boy in this doctor's office, essentially getting his blood, I guess you can say donated to this other person. And this kid was like one of the kids who had like leukemia, stage 4 cancer, and had like the one thing from the bat incident, I think from episode 2 or episode 1 or whatever. And what they try to do is, since he already had the cure because it went away, what they try to do is mix his blood with somebody else's blood so they can try to cure him. Sadly, that doesn't turn out working out, and it ends up making this old guy die. Probably much, I guess you can say, much earlier than what he probably was supposed to die. Like the dude was 84 and he only had cancer. I'm like, I'm not trying to say like, you know, that's bad, but it's like at least it seemed like he was living life fine. I guess, you live till you're 84 and you have cancer. Jesus, that's good. I guess you just made him die. Anyways, you have this one doctor named Dr. Rogers, I believe. He essentially is pretty freaking desperate and hungry to get this cure. So he sends out this crazy dude. I believe they said his name was Harry. I watched somebody else's review. He was like the right hand man to the ventriloquist or something like that. But anyways, he's a passive aggressive type of person, and stuff like that. We later find out that his whole story is kind of sucks for him and it's kind of messed up and stuff like that. But I'll go into detail later. But that whole issue happens, and essentially, this Dr. Rogers tells this dude, like, yo, could you go find the cure at whatever cost and find the people who can create it, which we later see in the episode. She eventually finds Mary. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do different divergent routes. So the Ryan route, I'm going to go the Ryan part of the storyline of this episode, and then how that happens then interconnects with the whole stuff. Okay, so the Ryan part of the story essentially covers really Ryan getting over doing this whole wound issue and everything. And we see she's doing Batwoman at the start of the episode, and the wound is clearly affecting her. Luke sees it on his comms because he's like, your heart rate's going up and everything. But again, she doesn't tell Luke that, oh, guess what? I have a whole kryptonite wound in my freaking chest. So that's the whole thing. The next thing, it affects it so bad that she goes to the freaking hospital, which we see later on in the episode. The doctor actually recalls her to go back because they see that there's like radioactive stuff in her freaking wound and things like that. Which it also does tie into the Angelique thing with Ryan. We see later in the episode, Sophie goes by her, new job, and she essentially goats Ryan into essentially stopping or trying to spy on Angelique, her girlfriend, because Sophie's using it as a way to find with the location of Ocean to get to the map of Coriana, so you can be able to get the Desert Rose flower and everything. And Ryan reluctantly agrees to doing it, and she manages to do it. And it's given some device where it can essentially hack into Angelique's phone to give the location where she's always at, and even hear what she's actually saying. What's kind of messed up. And the thing is, Ryan doesn't like to work with the crows, but again, it's like, well, if you don't really like to work with the crows and you want to do this, well, guess what? Maybe you shouldn't have to do it. But again, I'm not trying to say she shouldn't have to do what she's doing. Ryan did the right thing, and we also see later on in this episode, she was trying to save Angelique from herself, and she was trying to tell her like, listen, I care about you, I love you. I don't want you to get involved in this whole drug stuff, this drug dealing, and things like that. And I said it in a review in the freaking recording I made last night, which didn't go through. I said, even though Ryan's doing the right thing, in Angelique's case, to her, this is all she's got, and that's the only thing she can do, which, you see in this episode, Ryan tries to make Angelique work at, the holdup and the job, and she's just like, nah, I can't do it. So yeah, and then by the end of the episode, you see them end up breaking up because she kind of finds out that she finds out what Ryan did, and that's essentially kind of be a spy on her or make the crows be a spy on her and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know if they're gonna bring Angelique back. Personally, let's be honest, every Batwoman fan who reviewed this show said that Angelique was going to be a bad influence on Ryan. Again, I think this is where Ryan should cut her loose and be like, you know what, it's your loss. If you get in trouble, you get in trouble. I feel like the only way you could bring back Angelique is if you have Ryan come try to stop her as Batwoman. She's like, I guess you can say your antagonist of the week, where she's doing everything and Ryan has to stop her, and it's hard on her to stop her. So, because that's just somebody she cares about deeply. They could always do that, and then you can have Ryan reveal that she's Batwoman to her and stuff like that. So yeah, okay. Next up is the Alice storyline. Now the Alice storyline kind of revolves around her and Ocean this episode. For the majority of this episode, her and Ocean are in this like abandoned subway cart. And essentially, they're trying to figure out and trying to find out, like, why would Sophia get rid of her memories? And essentially, this is when we find out that Ocean, he says that he used to be in Sophia's army until he got essentially tired of it. And when he tried to leave, he tried to take the Desert Rose flower with him so he can leave or live a prosperous life, a life where he can support himself and stuff like that. And Sophia wasn't having any of it, and essentially, erased his memory and just put him in Gotham. Now, Alice kind of deducts that what happens is she was also in on it too, and they were planning on potentially living together and doing the same exact thing. And that's when Sophia caught them, erased both their memories and stuff like that. We later see that, Alice tries to call Sophia, trying to figure out, like, okay, listen, I need to know what are memories you erased and stuff like that of me and Ocean. And Sophia's like, well, I ain't going to tell you, especially for a woman who's so desperate to get back her sister. And, Sophia's like, you know what you need to do, and that's kill Ocean. So, Alice tries to kill Ocean, but, they get into a little fight, and we see more flashback moments between the two, and we see that they actually trained together on the island of Coriana, and it got to the point where it's like it became a full-fledged, relationship between the two, which, again, another thing Batwoman fans called in the aspect of, oh, these two were probably lovers, and there you go. So yeah, which eventually ties into this whole Sophie storyline because of the stuff thanks to Angelique, and Sophie manages to find Alice and Ocean. And what I did like, which was pretty funny, is in this whole moment when it looked like they might go in for some sort of kiss, that's when Sophie shows up, and then that's when Alice like, can't you see we're busy now? And Sophie's like, I don't care. So essentially what Sophie does is she essentially makes Ocean reveal the map of Coriana and stuff like that. So, you just have, Ocean light up the map, and essentially it erases all the pig's blood and stuff on it, the picture, and it shows the map, everything. Eventually what happens is, Sophie eventually takes it. Now, it's funny because I did watch another person review this, and the person who reviewed this, who I listened to the review, said, why didn't Sophie just take a picture of the map and there you go? You don't really need to use it for the map. So when the end of the episode happens where they just take it, boom, means much of nothing. which again is like, okay, yeah, that's makes sense. Yeah, she gets called over. Sophie gets called over by Luke to actually help out Mary and Jacob because they're captured by a crazy dude who's passive aggressive, which leads into Mary's storyline. Essentially, after getting, you know, I guess steamrolled by the truck, um, essentially Jacob and Mary are essentially tied up in Mary's secret clinic. Essentially, the crazy passive aggressive guy, Harry, I think that's what they said. Harry is like, listen, I need you to tell me everything about the cure, that can cure anything and stuff like that. And essentially, that's when Mary runs through everything and how she ended up with it and how she got it. And then she ends up saying, like, listen, the cure is gone. There's no more cure. And she even further says this to him in the episode. He's like, there's no antidote. And, Harry's like, well, if you're not going to tell me, then I guess I'm going to have to freaking attack him. But he kind of starts shanking Jacob and stuff like that in a way to get Mary to reveal some more information and stuff like that. And also in the meantime, too, Mary does tell her stepfather, Jacob, that this is her secret clinic she does to help other people and everything and stuff like that. And what leads to Luke getting more help, what happens is she's, thanks to Harry, Mary manages to make a call to Luke to bring the cure because she says she has the cure somewhere or someone of her who she knows has the cure. She asks essentially Luke, be like, come out like a bat out of hell, which signifies that she needs Ryan to become Batwoman to take him down and stuff like that. Which again leads back a little bit into the Ryan storyline of the fact that this is when Luke finds out about the kryptonite wound and stuff like that, and we find out that Ryan has like kryptonite poisoning and stuff like that. And the fact that her mortality rate is pretty high because you can't survive a freaking kryptonite poisoning in this universe and stuff like that. Which again ties into next week's episode of the fact that it seems like presumably they're gonna pull, Ryan's gonna die, but she's the main lead of the shows now. So guess what? There's no point in. So we know she's not gonna die. Anyways, what happens is, like I said, Sophie gets there, gets taken out pretty freaking easily. Like, I'm like, gosh dang. Like, this dude literally throws her out of the freaking room with utter ease. I'm like, Jesus. And I'm like, so much for that. I'm like, dude, you have a freaking gun. Shoot the dang dude. So that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing that was going on there. She's essentially down for the count. Jacob gets free thanks to Mary getting a hold of the shank. Then he gets taken out easily. And I'm watching this fight. I'm like, gosh dang, dude. I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on here? This dude's like very strong. Eventually, Ryan shows up and eventually saves the day. Thanks to an adrenaline boost, thanks to within the suit, thanks to Luke doing it, and an interesting thing about the I forgot to mention about the reason why Ryan didn't tell Luke about the wound, and essentially Ryan's like, I wanted you to trust me. I wanted you to trust me. I wanted you to believe I could come in and fill in for Kate Kane. Now, my only nitpick to that statement is this: like, well, okay, you want this guy Luke to trust you. But how are you going to make him trust you when you're not being so trustworthy yourself? You're being passive aggressive to him and Mary, saying that I'm the person who wears the suit, so you have to listen to what I say. And I'm like, well, you can't create trust if you're going to tell somebody, listen, I'm the person in control. So yeah, she wants Luke to have her back, but at the same time, I can say Ryan doesn't give me any optimism or any reasoning to be like, why should I have your back? You're being an a-hole to me, and you're being a D to me. I'm just gonna be honest. Listen, Ryan has treated. No, she's treated Mary somewhat decently, but she's honestly been, other than that one moment, has treated Luke like a complete asshole, to be honest. And again, Luke kind of did treat her the same way, but again, he has trustworthy. He's more trustworthy to Kate because it's like, well, this new person get involved doesn't know what she's doing, and I already had this relationship built with Kate. So yeah, this is always going to be, again, it's one of the more lingering on storylines between in Batwoman in terms of characters of well who can trust who and stuff like that. Um, yeah, that's the whole thing, and yeah, and that's kind of it. After Ryan saves the day, these masked dudes, hold Sophie hostage and are like, "We're gonna shoot her unless you give us the map." And even though Sophie's like, "Don't give the map," which again, you should probably take a picture of the map and then you'd have been good. Ryan gives the map to Sophie and yada yada yada, and they walk away. I don't know who these masked individuals are. Don't know who what group they were affiliated with. Um, so yeah, yeah, that's kind of it. Like I said, you get the breakup between Ryan and Angelique, and then the next episode is, or the next part of the episode is the fact that we see Jacob and Mary talk. Jacob is shutting down Mary's illegal clinic. We see that Jacob essentially being a dick to a daughter again, so he's being Jacob Dick guy, and stuff like that. And it's funny because he's like, the people you're working on are experiments. They're not tests. They're not patients. And I'm like, that's kind of fucked up. Like really. Two, another lingering thing is we find out about Harry is he was actually experimented on and he got tested on. And apparently when he got tested on, he came down with essentially brain cancer. And that's why he's so passive aggressive and everything. And we also get a hint to potentially believe that Hamilton Dynamics is a dirty, I guess you can say, type of industry that does experiments. And the fact that Mary's mom may have been in on one of the, it may have been in on these experiments. They just don't know, and stuff like that. Jacob's like, I don't know what your mom would be through and stuff like that because she was the same like you. She wouldn't talk really. Again, we know the mom was shady even in season 1, so it wouldn't lead me to be surprised that there's a shady dealings going on in Hamilton Dynamics. So yeah, essentially he's planning on shutting down. He's going to shut down Mary's clinics, and even though Mary's like, "But mom's had my back in this," and Jacob's like, "Well, too bad. You're doing something illegal." And essentially, that's when Mary, and that was kind of the whole Mary Jacob thing in this episode. It was like Mary was seeing it where Jacob's like, "Well, guess what? You only focus when you never focus on me. You never pay attention to me. You never are there for me. Essentially, you know." First, it's like Beth. Then it's focusing on the crows, and then now it's focusing on Kate. You never give me the proper attention that a daughter, of yours should have, and stuff like that. She's essentially saying she doesn't think Jacob cares about her, like Beth and Kate and stuff like that. Which I guess I guess in her case, I can understand where she's coming from. Especially the fact that that's essentially the only family you have left at this current point in time. So yeah, that's I do feel bad. And then what else? Oh yes, the Alice Ocean thing. So it looks like Alice kills Ocean, but she does her whole face thing and she calls up Sophia and she's like, "Well, I did it. I killed Ocean." Sophia's like, "Okay, then I need to see the body." The question is, will Sophia be fooled by it? I don't know. I don't think she will. But yeah, that's where the episode ends off. And next week, it seems like we're gonna get the fight between Alice and Ryan. The only difference is it seems like next week it's gonna be like Ryan fighting for her life or something like that, or she's on the brink of death because of the kryptonite poisoning, which leads me to another thing to believe in. Like, I feel like if I was a writer of the show, it's like, well, here's one easy cop out way to, I don't know, maybe extend the duration and have maybe the entire season be the premise of getting the Desert Rose flower, or maybe half of the season, or the Sapphire arc getting the Desert Rose flower, and essentially you do something to try to prolong Ryan's, life. And why don't you call somebody up from the DEO from the Supergirl universe, or from the Supergirl show? You don't have to have them make an appearance on the show, but it'd be like, oh yeah, we called the DEO in National City and we talked to Supergirl, and she gave us a reasoning on how to extend your time in terms of the kryptonite wound you got. And you just give a serum that happens, and then when you get the desert flower, you can use it to probably cure Ryan. I don't know why they're not doing that. Like, it makes no sense. I would be like, I'm like, listen, you'd think you would call Supergirl in this aspect and be like, okay, what can we do? And then you can have somebody make a serum, like Brainy make a serum to essentially extend her life or something like that. Again, I don't know why. I understand obviously the virus because you can't have these characters come over to these shows and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, come on, man, you could really freaking use that to your advantage. But yeah, that's kind of it. So yeah, other than that, that's really it. So the episode I thought was solid and I enjoyed it. So I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. Until then, guys, I'll see you guys on the next video. Leave a like if you like the video. Put in the comment section your thoughts on this episode, as well as just hit that subscribe button if you want to get more Batwoman content, as well as any more other CW show content, because I'm also doing Superman and Lois reviews, as well as the Flash reviews. Other than that, I'm gonna get out of here. Hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your day or night, or when you check on this video. Until then, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.